Okay, well, let's get started then. We'll call this meeting to order. And did anybody go anywhere and see anything pretty neat?
I will tell you, I recently went to see Taylor Swift in Houston, and I go to Houston every other year. You can really tell they're doing some of the smart city principles because people and cars were coexisting. They had a lot of traffic calming in their downtown. They had a very revitalized downtown, and let me tell you, they moved 70,000 people out of that stadium like clockwork. People had options to Uber, to get on the tram, and go about their business. And that really showed some intentional planning on their part. And they had some vision, because that doesn't just happen.
It's
So
cool.
how long had it been since you'd been there before?
I go about every 2 years.
So there was a big difference then?
Yeah, but I mean, this time it was walkable. There were bike lanes. People
Oh.
were packed on the train, on the metro. And they were just going about their business.
Isn't that something? I need to check.
People weren't crying about no parking and this is too packed, or they were just moving along. It was seamless.
Well, I spent 4 days in San Marcos and it was like it always was. Nothing had changed.
Oh, well, Betty, you brought up San Marcos. Me and my colleague were recently in San Marcos. Talk about a quaint redo around the university. Again, traffic calming, coexisting with neighborhood bars and grills. It had a sense of place. We were at the gristmill. You could tell the homes there were seamlessly integrated with that village of green. Again, intentional planning.
You were up in the New Bronzeville area.
We were in San Marcos, New Braunfels, yeah.
But in San Marcos, half the shopping had closed. For good. It was sad.
I have been in places like Port Mansfield, Port Isabel, today Corpus, and don't have much to report there.
Are you in Corpus now?
I am actually down on the island at a marina, and then eventually we'll get to Port Aransas
Port
later.
Aransas?
Yeah. So on my annual boys boat trip, but good to have y'all all here. I know we got a lot to do today. Mario, thanks for sharing. Betty, thanks for sharing, but we have a draft. You got it a little bit late, but it does kind of show the changes. Hopefully what we can do today is talk about that draft and either give some pretty specific instructions of what we would like to be updated or changed, or perhaps even as a committee have a vote and endorse it enough to move it forward to the city. I think we're a little ahead of some of the other committees, but it doesn't mean we don't have to stop our pathway. So Jessica, why don't I turn it over to you? And since we didn't get a long amount of time to look at the updated draft, why don't you work through it, tell us about it, and then we'll see where we are. Hi, Greg.
Yes, I can do that. I'm going to hop up here so I can show y'all the PowerPoint, and Miles, I'll share this with you too. Give me just a second. Let's see. So for our PowerPoint presentation today, I wanted to start out with a really quick overview of the times we've seen this draft, because I know I've sent this to y'all a lot, but I want to make sure we kind of went over this quick overview. So December 14th was the first time we looked at the draft vision and mission statements that we worked through together, put more historic preservation in there. January 25th, we discussed the draft goals, policies, strategies, and then started talking about initiatives, pilot projects, kind of what the draft would look like when it was laid out, possible chapters. February, the first draft of the downtown plan was provided to the committee. Y'all had requested it a little bit earlier, so the very first draft was very, very rough. And I appreciate y'all kind of bearing with us. So we did some of the spelling changes, formatting, things like that. March 15th, we did the second downtown draft plan that was given to y'all March 24th. And then the third downtown draft plan was provided to y'all April 11th. And then Tori has been working very hard to get all of those edits together. We sent them over to DTJ on May 2nd. I think they had over 300 comments on this last version. And it was nothing, I don't want to say anything of substance, but it wasn't like all of this is garbage, throw it out. It was more like copy editing, us trying to make sure it was perfect. And so those took a little bit longer to put into place than we thought they would. So y'all got the final draft today around noon. I emailed that to all y'all. I'm sorry you didn't get it a little sooner, but I wanted to point out a few of the things that are in this draft plan that are kind of some of our changes. I'll pull this up. And I'll share another screen with you, Miles, so you can see this too. So on here you can see your draft plan looks basically the same as far as the front of it. I'll point out a few of the big changes we had. On every page or every reference we had at first was the 2035 downtown vision plan. I don't really know how the 2035 got in there because normally these plans are 10 to 15-year plans, and that was a 12-year gap. I don't know where that came from, but we let it slip by at some point. So we've changed it to the 2023 downtown vision plan. 2023, some plans, there's kind of two different ways they do it. Either they name it for the date when it kind of plans for in the future, or you name it for the date or the year that you've done it. Traditionally, this is what we've done in Nacogdoches. It's how all of our other plans have been done, so we wanted to follow the same model. So it's now our 2023 downtown vision plan. So that reference has been changed all throughout the plan. Another one is page 30 through 31. And y'all have this list at your spot. Tori went through today and made a list of kind of all the changes if you want to go look at every single change we made. So pages 30 through 31. So this is a new page. 30, 31 are new pages we put in there. What we asked DTJ to do was to go through and do a quick assessment and quick summary of the 1974 downtown plan. We talked a little bit early on about some of the old comp plan material, and that was summarized in here, and then we realized that we hadn't talked about the 1974 plan at all. And so they kind of summarized and took some quotes out of here and talked about, you know, the 1974 plan was very progressive. Some of those things, we're not recommending to do those things, but we're acknowledging that we had that plan in place, and then we kind of use that as a jumping off point. So those are 2 pages in here. There's also on page 96 through 97, which is a lot further down, we've made changes to kind of some of our partner organizations. That's like the CVB, SFA, the county, NEDCO. We sent those paragraphs out to each of those organizations and said, is this an accurate depiction of your organization? You can write it if you want to. If you love what I wrote, then leave it there. And we got a few edits back from the CVB, a few back from NEDCO, and a few back from the county. So we tweaked those a little bit. We didn't take any of them out. We didn't do huge substantial changes. We just kind of tweaked to make sure that we accurately represented what they wanted their organization to look like on there. There's other minor edits we've done through here that I won't pull up each one, about moving historic preservation to the top of some of the recommendations. Each section has broad recommendations, and anything that was like historic, history-wise, we move those to the top just to make sure we emphasize that we keep the great things we have, and then here's how we do new stuff, or here's how we improve after that. So we've added those throughout. There's also, let me see what page it's on, page 104. So one of the comments was about Commerce Alley and activating that one in the back. So that comment came from Dr. Beisel as far as, you know, yes, we want to activate Commerce Alley. We want to use those back entrances and exits from some of those buildings, but not build some new false front facade on there and confuse people. And you'll see, oh, I didn't go far enough. On this one, right up here, the comment that I put on there for DTJ to use, they accidentally cut too much of it, and you'll see some of my ramblings on there. Ignore that. That's one of the very few changes we are going to have them make before we actually start doing the public outreach portion of that. So Commerce Alley, we wanted to encourage people to use Commerce Alley, make it a walkable alleyway, use it for event spaces, and use those back exits out of their building, but not like try to recreate the front of their building on the back, or do something that's, you know, contrary to historic preservation.
What page was this?
This is 104. 104, and it's highlighted in your kind of notes on there. So if you see that and kind of realize that this has gone off the rails a little bit, that's just my
I do think in the old draft, it might be 106 because they added the 2 new pages of Shawnee.
And Mario, what was your question?
Is Commerce Alley behind Main Street
Yes.
or on the, or in facing Fredonia? Which one are we?
So Commerce Alley is, it runs perpendicular to church. It's the front of the Texas Size Bling store
Okay.
and kind of the back of the old, mass.
Barber shop.
Yeah, barber shop, all that sort of stuff. Does that answer?
The one question, I know when we walked that last year, it doesn't seem very historical.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering why the concern.
So a lot of the concern is because Commerce Alley is still part of the Downtown Historic District, so it's still under Historic Landmark Preservation Committee to review kind of all the changes. Every once in a while when you see some alleys activated, if it's not in a historic area, they kind of add different things to the back of their buildings to make it look like the front, new architectural features. And so the buildings back there, while they don't look great, they are in that period of significance for downtown. And so we want to encourage people to fix up the back of their buildings, just not put a whole new front facade on it. Because it's not historically accurate, those buildings are older.
Wouldn't that be bound by the current historical preservation?
It is.
So are we being redundant by,
So that's why we kind of worked on some of the wording. Because some of the wording in here is like encourage improvements to Commerce Alley entrance facades to encourage higher uses. So it really does, it still doesn't talk about don't put a new facade on it, but it's just like encourage the use of the back by minor improvements. So we put that on there. I don't think it's horribly redundant. If y'all hate it and if we show this to the public and they hate it, we can take it out.
Well, there is an entrance to Texas Blaine back there on
There
Commerce
is.
Street.
There is,
She
yeah.
has an entrance. I don't know if she calls that the front entrance or the back entrance, but there is
Yeah.
an entrance.
I think it's good because we talked in this group about events that could potentially
Could be
happen
back
down there.
Mhm.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, because like we love those back entrances, especially for the people that face East Main and have their back entrances. Like we love some improvements, but you can't then like put a balcony off the back of it because it's still, you know, would mess up the whole facade of it. Or if you do want to request that, because you're welcome to request it, you still have to go through HLPC, and it's not necessarily something we encourage, like putting brand new stuff on a historic building that it's not appropriate on.
I wondered if Mast Hall could overflow out their back door some way with even tables and chairs.
I think so. I think they'd be.
They could accommodate a few more people that way.
Mhm. And especially if we put some of those measures in place where it can be pedestrian, but doesn't have to be 100% of the time, then that's something easily accomplished. If they have a big event, then we request to shut that street or put the bollards out, and all of a
Right.
sudden they have a second event space. So I would love that. And so then, of course, like I mentioned, Tori marked up all the millions of tiny little edits we made on there. There was even stuff as small as when we have some quotes on there that says from anonymous Nacogdoches community member. I thought that sounded like we were trying to hide who was talking, and so we took out anonymous and just put Nacogdoches community member, because not everybody wants their quotes in there. They might be embarrassed or just wanted to say that in the privacy of a focus group. But we just took out anonymous because it sounded like we were being kind of behind the curtain type thing. So we made over 300 edits on this draft. And so I know y'all haven't had a ton of time to look through it, but I just want to make sure everyone knew that the edits we did make this time were not based off what I love or Brian loves or Tori wants. It was based off of y'all's edits, clarification of spelling, formatting, things of that nature. So what you're going to see in here is not any gigantic changes. So if y'all have any questions on that?
Did we find out any additional information about Shawnee and the
Yes,
historic area?
And I should have showed y'all that, sorry. Let me pull that up.
I liked the wording that the city came up with on that Shawnee page because it did honor, we're gonna obtain voice from the community. The overlay changed a little bit to represent how far.
Yes, and so our Shawnee pages are right here. It is page. Yeah, 134. And so you'll see the old Shawnee page, and then we left a page blank, and then put the 2 new pages. And really what we did on here is based off y'all's feedback as far as we don't wanna do recommendations for this community without talking to the community. And so really what we have on here is that Dtac recommends that Shawnee Neighborhood should be included as part of a downtown vision plan. It's illustrated in the character map. We talk on here about, we should do future study in this neighborhood, do outreach, and then decide, or once we get input, then we should pursue some sort of type of historic overlay, talk to the neighbors, and so it's really kind of broad recommendations that we're not deciding anything for anybody, we're just saying that we've heard from the community so far in focus groups in this meeting that this neighborhood is significant and we think we need more study on it. So those are in there, and we have a lot of pictures of the Shawnee neighborhood. There's gonna be a few more we're gonna add in there because I feel like there's a few significant buildings we left out. But yeah, so that's what we changed on that. And I think those were all the very significant changes. Do y'all have any questions?
I noticed that winery popped up from there, the mill from Abilene.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a neat place. I noticed also Waco, so there's some more Waco pictures.
Yes.
Did y'all find the need for some more similar sized towns?
Yes, and that was kind of going through that, almost all of our example pictures, were either all from Indiana, Colorado, and there was 1 or 2 other states, and there's weren't very many Texas examples. And so some of those, I wasn't happy with the quality of the picture, because even when we got the high quality version, it's still kind of a grainier picture. But also I think there's value in showing some Texas examples, some regional examples, so it's, we're not the ones going first, like other cities are doing this as well. So I thought it was good to have some examples from kind of some of our peers. So we put those in. And of course, if y'all have other suggestions, if there's still some photos in there that, we have a good regional example of that, Texas example of it, southern example of it, whatever you want, we can definitely sub those out. We just picked a few, because I know Waco specifically, Civic Brand, who's been our outreach arm of this, they did the Waco project. So they had those on hand, and they popped up on our social media. Mario, I think you sent them to me the first time. So that was kind of a regional example using Civic Brand, who's our consultant as well, so we thought it was a good idea to put those in there. So if y'all have any questions?
Did they change the map? I think it was the number 42, page 42 map. There was one map I was looking at and I had a hard time reading it. And I know I made notes about it, but this is not mine, so.
Yes, and there was 3 changes made to maps.
Okay.
One of them, Virginia Avenue, it was abbreviated to just be AVE, so we spelled it out. The other one is the Shawnee area. It was brought up that we had the district marked out how we thought it was the actual district. And since that's just kind of a broad, this area, we haven't done a historic district or anything like that. We decided to put hashes over that area to kind of say this is not a defined district yet. This is just the area we're kind of looking at. And then we did improve some of the colors and a few of the layouts. So I know, Brandy, we sent your map edits to that in there. That's one reason some of the edits took a little longer, because they were having to redesign maps and put them back into Dallas.
One of the things that's interesting about a change here is the 2035 to 2023.
Mm-hmm.
2035 seemed aspirational and seemed to move us forward. I know Austin is doing a 2040 vision. That moves me to 2040. I'll be 66 years old. 2023 kind of stops and it sits on a shelf. So I was wondering, I know we're trying to fit what we've done before, but 1974 got stuck.
Yeah.
2003 got stuck. Should we be more vision forward, aspirational, and calling it 2035? Because I can see 2035. I'll be 60.
Yeah. And that's up to y'all as a committee. The reason we went back to the 2023 is to kind of follow the model of the old ones. But then also we do kind of line out in the play of how we finish out this project. We line out in there that, these projects this plan, should be updated in 10 to 15 years. We should look at this every year and kind of make audits. So that's all kind of put in there in the implementation portion of it. So we were relying on that to use that as well. We just went with 2023 as far as like we finished it this year, following all the rest of them, and then talking implementation of how long this plan carries us forward. So that's up to y'all as a committee.
So I just made a note of the 2035 mostly because I didn't feel like we could discuss like when the aspirations were supposed to take place. So I was just curious about that. I also kind of agree with Mario that having an aspiration for something is sometimes a good thing.
Because, I mean, if you leave it 2023,
yeah, then it's
you
just
might as
kind
well
of
be
like
saying
you're done.
2019,
Right.
and then we're kind of catching up to 2019.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'll always be catching up to 2023 instead of moving to 2035.
And I do get what, like, because like the 2003 plan and the 74 plan, like it's all when they happen. So I understand having that, you know, when this happened. But
I mean,
I kind of like the idea of having it aspirational.
I don't want to be talking about a 2023 plan in 2029 because then we're going backward. We're pulling ourselves back to when it happened instead of what's ahead. Just a little
agree
human
with that.
psychology for you.
Yeah. No, I do agree with that.
Anybody else have any strong feelings one way or the other?
Well, I find we're looking at the last two plans anyway, with this one, so I guess it's according to how you look at it, if you need another date on there or not.
I know SFA just finished their visioning plan ended in 2023, and it was sort of, for me, it was sort of good to know, okay, this plan was over, now we're gonna move to a next one, but, you know, I know that those dates are also sometimes fluid, so I don't know, I can go either way, I don't have a really strong opinion about it, but I understand the aspirational nature of it, and the desire that it doesn't just sit on the shelf somewhere, so.
But it's still gonna be the plan of 2023.
Right, yeah.
What about having it on the front, or, you know, when we address it, it could be called the 15-year plan, or the, you know, so that we have a set, like, this, we would like to see these things accomplished in the next 15 or 10 or 20 years, whatever the appropriate time is. So it could be called the, you know, the 2023 15-year visioning plan or something like that. I don't know if that's too long and, you know, convoluted, but.
Well, but in 1974, they didn't think it was too long, and some people are still referring back to it.
Yeah.
49 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that, we can even bring that up if it does get endorsed today and we go forward with public input. I mean, that's even a conversation we can have at some of the town halls and surveys.
I think
and
that's a
things
good
like that.
idea to move that out into the public sphere.
Because of course, you know, the question I'm gonna ask y'all in a minute about endorsing, because a lot of these things, you know, this plan, the draft we sent y'all today is not the final version. It's kind of we are good with these concepts, we're good with the layout, you know, I think the pilot projects for the most part are correct, and then we are comfortable pushing this forward to the public and getting their opinion. So things like the title, and as far as the aspirational date versus today's date, you know, that's definitely something we can have a conversation with the public, because they may all have, you know, anybody we talk to may say, we want this to say the 2040 plan, because in 2040 we want to check it. Or we may hear from everybody that says, no, like, we want to know the year we finished it. Same like the other ones. So I think that's something we can easily do with public input, and then if they don't carry their way, when we come back and are ready to do this in council, we can all decide.
Okay, so on page 104, what language would we use to honor that?
The Commerce Alley one.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that, the adaptive reuse, I think, is the term that scares people, because it feels like you're taking this old building, doing a ton of stuff to it, and turning it into something totally different. And so I think if we talk more about restoration of historic features, or beautification of back alley entrances, is what a lot of Main Street cities talk about. And so some of that we can go look and see what other Main Street cities are using, other downtowns are using. I think it's just the adaptive reuse that we had in there originally that scares people.
Creating a sense of place.
Yeah, so we can use a lot more beautification, placemaking, you know, restoration, anything like that to promote those Commerce Alley entrances without saying, scrape off what you have, make a new entrance, and do a false history on it. So that's kind of what we are playing with, if that's something y'all are comfortable with for the Commerce Alley area. here's our next question. As a group, knowing that not everybody's here, we did touch base with the majority of people that couldn't be here, that were out of the country or out of the state, to make sure they didn't have heartburn with this draft. But I really wanted to see if, as a committee, if y'all are ready to endorse this draft of plan to go towards the public input stage.
You wanna show of hands?
Sure.
Well, let's do it this way. First of all, especially the people at the table right now, but we've had other people at the table during the process. I want to thank y'all because this has not been an easy process. It took us a year. We try to be realistic. I know that everybody has things in the plan they like, and everybody has things that didn't make it to the plan that they wished for. But first things first, I want you to know the city, the commission, Jessica, Brian, myself, Greg, I just appreciate everybody engaging in this. And I'm glad we, as a committee, been able to at least get something out there for the public to look at. So with that as a setup, I would like to do a vote to see, show of hands. Are we willing to endorse this? And so I'd take a motion to endorse this downtown plan and a second.
I move to endorse the downtown plan.
I'll second
We have
that. I think it's time we
in
move
a
in that
second,
direction.
so I'm on a little tiny screen, so all those in favor, raise your hand and wave. It looks to me like we have a commitment there on record now, Jessica, that, we could do this another year and it'd be even better, but I think we've got something to build from, and I think that you just got the votes you need to say, let's go public with it and get one last round of feedback.
Yay, thank you. That was awesome. I'm so excited. I've been very nervous about this all day long. Not gonna lie. Great, so, like Miles said, now this will go, now this will go to public input. And Mox can still hear me. So here's kind of our next step. So our draft endorsement today, hooray. Next thing is public input throughout May, June, and July. And of course, keep in mind, this is my tentative schedule. If something has to change, we can, but this is the schedule we would like to do. Final edits in July and August, because we'll take all the public input, and kind of our input's gonna be in two different categories, as far as, people's opinions, their likes, dislikes, and then actual edits. If some people just say, well, I don't like pilot project 2, it's like, if we don't hear that from the overwhelming majority, then person ABC just doesn't like this pilot project, and we're just gonna keep rolling with it, because I think we have to keep the philosophy of everybody's gonna get something, but you're not gonna get everything. So we'll do that public input, do those final edits, because there is gonna be spelling mistakes that we have all missed somehow. They're gonna make it through. And then hopefully take this to City Council for consideration at that second meeting in August. And then let me show you kind of some of the ideas we had for some of the
Jessica,
Yeah.
before you move on, I have a question. How will we handle the public comments when they come back to you? Are we gonna discuss those and think they're worthwhile to add or not add or whatever?
Yes, we can. So my plan is for us to do all this public input and then come back together that our normal schedule meeting in August, which I'll have, my last slide has that date on it. But Tori and I will be busy collecting all of it. We can send y'all updates as we do these things, so you kind of see in real time. We did 4 speaking engagements. Here's some of the the input we got. So we'll send that to y'all periodically. And then in August, we come back together, discuss what was said, all the spelling mistakes we found, or any formatting we have to do. And then as long as y'all are okay with those edits, then we will take that to City Council. If it's, we had 2 people that didn't like this pilot project, or one person hated the colors, or one person didn't like these examples, then those, we have to take everything with a grain of salt, and they didn't like it, but maybe they love something else. So that's kind of the plan as of right now, to give y'all the input and the feedback, unless you'd like some other way. Yeah.
Are we going to, on the opportunity areas, like the little projects that we have, the 6 or 8 or however many were in here, are we gonna give the public the opportunity to say which one they think should be done first, or which one is their favorite one, or anything like that?
Absolutely. Because I know there's been a few of the pilot projects that all of us love. Some people have kind of fallen out of love with other ones, and that's okay. my idea, and of course this is up to y'all, was to do, Texas Historic Commission did a master plan about a year and a half ago. They did a town hall meeting here, which was really cool. They did like a 5-minute presentation on here's what our master plan says so far, and then they had little poster setups around the room where we got to vote on projects we thought were most important. We got to vote on designs we liked the best, which priorities should be there. So my thought was when we were doing some of these speaking engagement poster exhibits, town hall, was to have all of our pilot projects listed and have people arrange them how they like them. Which ones they think should come first, which pilot projects they maybe don't like. And if we get a ton of feedback that someone does not want to do Festival Park and everybody else in the whole room agrees with them, then maybe we take that into consideration. But yeah, I think voting on which pilot projects they like the best, which ones should come first, if there's any pilot projects we completely missed, ask them to give us feedback on the Shawnee district, especially if it's in that neighborhood when we do some feedback, or with a group that has stakeholders in there. So we can make these outreach opportunities anything we want to. If there's a specific topic y'all really want feedback on, please tell me, because then we can create an entire poster on it, or a social media graphic, or a survey question about it. So a lot of this we can tailor to what we want to know. What I have listed up here was just kind of what Tori and I were spitballing off the top of our head, some of the recommendations from DTJ, where they normally see us, where they normally see communities do the outreach. A lot of this is going to public meetings. All of our city meetings are public. They are either recorded or broadcast live. They're public hearings, so you can come and speak at them. So our idea was to go to every city council appointed board that has a stake in this. And of course, Historic Landmark Preservation Committee, Main Street Board, CBB Board, Parks Advisory Board, and the Downtown Merchants all very much have a stake in this plan. And so if all of those boards and all of their staff liaisons are good with me speaking at it, my plan is to get on the agenda for each one and do a short presentation, similar to what Keith did with y'all about a month ago, just much shorter. We went into great detail on that one. But is to do those presentations, have a public comment section where people want to come speak about it, ask questions, they can do that. And then on this right-hand column is more grassroots outreach that staff would do, that we would hope y'all would help with, as far as doing a town hall style meeting, kind of like Texas Historic Commission did. Do social media posts. In the draft plan, there's a few really great graphics that we could use. We could recreate something like that. Of course, have the full draft plan on the city website, promote us there, have print copies spread throughout town. We'll have some at the public library. We will also be outreaching to all the people that took the surveys, came to the focus groups, did the interviews, and kind of tell them, hey, the downtown plans draft is done. Please review it, give us your feedback, and we may have a form for them to fill out since they participated early on and helped us develop some of this. And then really poster exhibits, and then presenting to any and all groups that y'all can think of that would want to hear me talk, or any of y'all talk.
Maybe our meeting in a box groups.
Okay.
And like some of them could be more focused. Like I know the bike group that I met with won't be interested in all of the things, but there are some things that they would really like to look at, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of this is, some of the onus is on city staff and me and Tori and Brian and Tori Huddleston in the back of Main Street. But the other things, as far as other groups that may need to hear about this, it's going to be kind of going back to meeting in a box and the stuff we did early on, where if you have a Bible study, book club, bike club, anything like that that you think needs to see this or hear about it, please let me know, and either I can go and talk to them, or y'all can go talk to them. Because at the same time, we can create kind of a little presentation in a box for y'all to take with you, where we have the little knack together pins and notepads you can give out. We can create handouts for you, surveys, flyers, posters, whatever you like. Tori and I can create it, have it ready for you. That way it's not just me talking to people all summer long. I think they'll tune me out. But so any groups that y'all can think of, we're happy to do that, or to arm you with stuff to go tell them.
When we have the town hall style meetings, are we thinking about outreaching to like the top 10 employers?
Absolutely.
The hospitals, the Chamber of Commerce?
Absolutely, yeah, because that's what we did that a little bit for some of the early on outreach, but especially now that we have a good product and kind of a draft of like, here's our big vision. I would love to send out an email when we do that town hall to our schools, our top employers, any partner organizations, and then especially partner organizations that have a stake in downtown. out to them. You never know what the attendance will be, especially in the summer, but that's where we find ourselves. So I think as long as we shout it from the rooftops, hopefully people will attend. I'd like to do one town hall here, just because it's pretty centrally located, easy to find. It'd be great to have one actually downtown, since it's all gonna be located there. And then depending on time and resources, we may have a third one as well.
Can we do one at the church?
Zion
The
Hill?
Zion Hill. I want to see it. I still haven't seen it.
I can take it. That all depends on when we wanna do it.
Yeah.
Our ADA lift got installed, and then
Yay!
had a little hiccup with the keyboard, we got a new one, so it works, it's fine. So yeah, that one, we can.
I think we would get a lot of people though to it because they want to see it, and so
Yeah, and the only problem up there is, we're gonna be building a parking lot this summer, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But it also takes up some of our grass parking that we have right now.
maybe
Yeah, we
maybe
can work-
late June.
Yeah, we can definitely work something like that out this summer over there. But yeah, and it may not be the full town hall, it may be inviting all the focus group people to come back and look at it, not as necessarily as a private event, but kind of like, we're just gonna invite these people, tell them about it, so maybe they can come look at it.
How many
So yeah,
people,
I think we definitely do
how many
something.
people can be seated in here?
In here, Brian, do you know how many fire coded for here?
How many?
We can seat 75 like these chairs are right here. So, but that's quite a few people. But we
75 to
have-
100?
Well, 75 is what we have the seating for, but as some of you have been to other town hall meetings, more people can cram in.
We've had more than that, haven't we?
We just go by number of seats. So 75 is what we fit in this room, and then there's room, standing room for others. But for a town hall type meeting, we wouldn't want that many, because we need to be able to get up and move around and look at displays that are on the wall, and so that's why we're looking at holding several of them, so they won't try to cram everybody into one.
If they're real interested, they'll make an effort to come though.
They will, I think so too. And we'll do, a big push on our social medias, and then give, same thing we did early on, as far as like, give you all the graphics, and if you share it on your own personal one, or email your friends, or anything like that, just to get the word out, because we're excited. I'm excited for people to get excited about this plan. I can't wait to show it off. And I think once people start getting excited about it, see that, you know, there's really good things in here, hopefully we will have all these boards that they're not gonna vote to approve it, but they're gonna review it, give us their comments. And then by the time we get to city council, I think we'll have a big group of people that are very excited to see a lot of these things happen. So I can't wait for it. I think it's gonna be great. So do y'all have any questions about the outreach or any concerns about that? And my plan is, as soon as we get on these agendas for these boards I'm talking about, to send y'all emails to let you know the dates, and if y'all want to come, that's great. If y'all wanna be the one presenting it, that's great too. Or if y'all wanna tag team with me, so once again, it's not just me doing this all summer. So I'll send y'all those dates, and then any town hall meetings we do, any big public outreach, I'll send that to y'all as well. Cause I'd like us not to have a June and July meeting, just so we can get some of this other stuff done. And those public outreach events that we'll do will kind of serve as your June and July meetings, so that way y'all can attend that and not have to come to meetings.
It might be interesting to schedule ourselves on eggs and issues with the chamber.
We can do that, that's great.
That's usually an early Thursday morning, 7:30, that's,
That's a great idea.
do I?
That's a great idea.
However, what I want to hear about this major plan at 7 in the morning,
People come here.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Well,
well.
they have very good attendance at those
Yeah.
meetings though,
Yeah.
the eggs and issues. And people just go out, it's kind of like their monthly meeting.
Yeah,
okay.
and if we can get on a Rotary schedule, that's always good.
Do what?
I said if we can get on a Rotary schedule, that's
Sure,
always
Rotary.
good. Chamber also does a virtual call once a week. Say that with a question mark, I think it's once a week.
Tuesday mornings.
Yeah, so they also have that, and we can present at those. So any ideas y'all have or groups that you know of, if y'all can get us on those schedules, get us on there and then we'll show up. If you want me
Newcomers-
to pursue it, let me know.
Newcomers might be good. They're usually in the paper. The Newcomers Club.
Okay.
What about the senior center? Are there enough people that do things at the senior center to have a presentation there maybe?
Probably, and
Around
they
their
have that,
lunchtime?
yeah, and they have that nice new facility and
Uh-huh.
space to do it, so I can reach out to Tammy over there, whenever.
When do the downtown merchants, do they have a monthly meeting
Yes, they will have a meeting they have a every other
every other month?
So they'll have a meeting in July. They'll have a meeting in July that we'll speak to them at as well. And then this will go to the Main Street Board, probably in June or July, and have them look at it as well, because the Main Street Board.
So you'll let us know when all those meetings are? Okay.
Absolutely, I'll let y'all know, and y'all are welcome to come. If you want to help present, that's great. If you have a group, you know, if you're part of the newcomers club and y'all do presentations and y'all wanna do it, feel free to. Because part of the beauty of having, the citizen committee is that it's not just me waving this downtown flag, it's all of y'all saying, look at this great thing we all produced together, so I'm pretty excited.
Newcomers might be interested in that.
Mhm.
We have over 150 members.
Yeah,
Goodness.
it's a big club.
Yeah,
I've only been there as a presenter for the parks, so.
yeah, I'm presenting at some club at the end of May about Zion Hill, but they don't know it, but they're also gonna get some downtown plans.
When
for
will the
there
pews,
too.
when will the pews be back?
That I have to check with Veronica on that one, but I'll check with that. So do y'all have any other, Brian's got anything?
So in all of these outreach meetings that you're talking about, based on my experience with the Parks and Trails Master Plan, it really is important that some of this committee attend those. And that wasn't something that I thought about until we were doing the Parks and Trails Master Plan. And some of the committee members were there, so it wasn't just me. It was me doing the talking, but then the committee members were sprinkled throughout. And when I looked up at one point, there was a group over here, a group over there, and the committee members were able to talk about it just as much as I was. And the citizens that came to hear it wanted to hear from Betty and from John and from Shay and not from Brian. I mean, because they feel more comfortable talking to y'all. And so it was, you don't have to know everything, but you can kind of highlight the things. And you capture that feedback and pass it on. So obviously, we're not saying come to all of them, because that's
right.
a huge commitment. But even if, Greg makes one and you make two and Jay makes three, I mean, it makes a big difference. Especially in like Greg will be there at the Rotary. I mean, because he's a Rotarian, if you go to the Federation of Women's Clubs, Betty will be at that one. So just kind of try to make those when you're in your own neighborhood.
Well, I know Marilyn and I have continued to give reports at Federation meetings. Of course, we're a little misplaced right now because we're not gonna open the OUB back till September. But we do have an August meeting. We've been meeting at the chamber, so I'll see when Ann has an opening for us with that, because they've been very interested in both plans.
That'd be great.
Uh,
That's wonderful. And as y'all think of,
I'll check on eggs and issues if you'd like for me to.
Sure,
I'll
that'd be
do
great.
that with
Thank you.
Wayne.
and as y'all think of these things, shoot them over to me, or just let me know that you're gonna go to that group, or there's an event going on that you wanna set up a table at, or anything like that, and we will give you whatever you need, and if there's something you want, me to pursue, let me know, I'm happy to do it. So from here, our tentative next meeting, is August 9th, 2023. Like I mentioned, we'll have June and July off, hooray, from our regular stated meeting, do all those other things. August 9th would have been our typical meeting anyway. It's that Wednesday of the month at 3:30 in this room. And of course, I will email y'all much closer to the date to remind everybody that we're gonna come back together. Because at that meeting, we'd like to go over, kind of a big summation of, here's the feedback we heard, good, bad, ugly, here are some of the edits we made, and then what we would like to present to council that next week. Because I think I'm not gonna give y'all a date, I'm gonna lie to you. The council meeting will be, I believe, the week or two after that. It's their second meeting in August, and so I'd like to get this, as long as everyone's comfortable with the edits and comfortable with the feedback we got, I'd like to get this on council's agenda, so hopefully they can approve it, accept it, and then we can get to work on all the stuff. Is everybody good with that plan? Great, well, that is all I had. This may be our shortest meeting ever.
How about that?
So excited.
First-
That's all I had for everybody. Miles, do you have anything else?
No, I'm so proud of this committee because we just kept pushing through. And I really do think that, man, if we can just get this out there and do 20% of it, it's going to make a huge difference in our community. And thank y'all all for your efforts and for serving. And it's not perfect, but it's pretty dang close.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all.
Thank you, Miles.
Thank you, Miles. Safe travels.
I'm going to go catch a fish now.
Have fun.
Hey, Greg, I hate to tell you, but it's a 40